I saw a piece recently which was about a trainer and a boxer. And the trainer ended up saying to the boxer, whenever the boxer said something negative about his performance, the trainer said, "Give me 10 burpees." And then the trainer said to him, "You are going to have an opponent in every fight that you are engaged in. Let's not make you another opponent." And so, to the point of that, are you in a fair fight? If you are talking to yourself negatively, no, you're not in a fair fight. So one of the things I wanted to do was talk about self-talk. And one of my favorite mantras is the 6 P's. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And so I wrote some things down I wanted to talk about, and I want to go through those. So self-talk, as Napoleon Hill said, the weeds in a garden, the negative thoughts just pop up like weeds in a garden. And your job, if you want to do this, is to grab that negative thought, throw it away, and replace it with a positive thought. So how do you do that? And what are some of the positives and negatives of self-talk? So let's talk about first some of the positives. It does boost self-confidence and self-esteem. So instead of saying, "I can't do this," you can end up saying to yourself, "I can learn how to do this. I'm becoming better at doing this. I'm learning how to do this." Those sort of things. Reduces stress and anxiety. If you can get to yourself that I'm prepared for this, I've been through these things before, I know how to do them, obviously much more positive than, "Oh, well, I can't do this. I've got all kinds of problems," etc., etc. Positive talk improves mental health. Obviously, you're focused on the positives as opposed to the negatives. And a lot of people get sucked into the negative thoughts and the resulting things, not the least of which is, certainly you can lead to depression in those. It enhances motivation and performance. Yes, when you've convinced yourself that you can do something and you're excited about doing it and you have the reasons why it's important to you, that obviously will increase the amount of your performance and lead to better outcomes. And then gives you resilience in the face of challenges. This is tough, but I can handle it situation. I've been through this before. I know how to deal with these situations. I'm stronger than the situation. You don't court tough times, but you get to the point that you don't fear tough times because you've dealt with a myriad of these before. And you can also say to yourself, "Geez, when I tell the story of my success, this will be a great part of that story. This will be something that most people won't be willing to go through, but I'll be willing to go through it so I can persevere and come out the other side successful." Okay. Dangers of negative self-talk. You can probably figure out a lot of these, but they certainly increase stress and anxiety. I'm going to fail. My mother told me I would never amount to anything. All those things can be negative thoughts that then obviously impact your behavior. Lower self-esteem and confidence. I've talked about this a lot before, that in this business acquisition, your self-esteem, your self-image will be the barometer of your success. And you will, by continually getting outside your comfort zone on things that make you uncomfortable and stretch, you'll get better and better. And you'll teach yourself in time that these things can happen. So let's not be on the lowering self-esteem. Let's be on the increasing stuff. Can lead to depression. I've talked about that. Limits personal growth and potential. So you can certainly end up with negative self-talk that just means that, well, I know this next guy is going to turn me down, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take that action. And oftentimes the negative self-talk will absolutely lead to procrastination. And procrastination, as I've said 100 times, is the thief of time and the thief of opportunities. And then it certainly, that negative thought and that negative self-talk leads to relationships, interactions with people that are also negatively impacted. People like to be around positive people. People like to be around people who are accomplishing things. People don't like to be around people that just woes me. I can't believe what happened to me, and I want to tell you about it. I had a guy that worked for me once that would consistently come and tell me, and I was his manager, the bad things that were happening. And oftentimes they were totally unrelated to work. So I said to myself, I got to find a way to break this habit of his. And so when he came to me one day and he's describing something that happens to him, I said, that must have been a terrible situation. He said, yeah, it was. It was absolutely terrible. Okay, so how come you want to relive it by telling me about it again? And it was like a light bulb went off for him. And he said, oh, yeah. And so I was able to break that pattern. And I was able to, whenever he started up again, which really didn't happen very often, I was able to remind him, are we reliving that again? Okay. So managing negative thought patterns, certainly get away from the I always mess up to keeping a positive attitude towards the things you're working with. Write yourself a journal and write down how many times those thoughts come into your head. A lot of times with worries, if the things you worry about never happen, I'd say 95% of the time they don't. So if you want to keep a time log and say, okay, today I was worried about this, and then you end up finding, son of a gun, none of that stuff happened. Okay, great. You begin to teach yourself, I'm worrying about the boogeyman. I'm worrying about something that's not going to happen. And I end up living it. If it does happen, I end up living it twice. I end up living it in the worry, and then I end up living it when it actually happens. Challenge and reframe those thoughts. I'm terrible at public speaking, or public speaking is something that I'm getting better at. In the beginning, most things you do, you will be terrible at. So you can say, okay, I'm terrible at that, and that's the end game. Or, you know what? I got better than I did the last time. I improved, and slowly but surely, sometimes slowly, sometimes not so slowly, you will get better. Do your affirmations, and that's a great way to say, I'm learning to this. I'm becoming this. I can see myself as a successful entrepreneur doing business acquisitions. Write those affirmations. Your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between a lie and the truth. So feed it with things that you want it to know. And sooner or later, those will begin to impact your behavior as well. Affirmations, I wrote that down twice. I guess it's that important to me. But go through affirmations. I suggest you do them in the morning and you do them at night. And say them out loud. Use the emotions that come along with them positively. Surround yourself by supportive people. People who support what you're doing. People that encourage you. Again, the example of kids that are raised in a household of, you're never going to account to anything. Your father was a bum, you're a bum, you're going to always be a bum. That's pretty powerful imprinting when you're young. So can you overcome that? Yes. But it's better to surround yourself with people that say, look, I know you can get this done. You're a bright guy. You can work on this. You can learn. I'm going to help you to do that. And then separate your successes. A lot of times in this process, the business acquisition process, people will forget, well, I built a board. Yeah, and I never thought I would get those people. The law firms and accounting firms are fantastic that I've got. Yeah, thinking back on it, I didn't think I could do that. I had somebody this week say to me that what I have accomplished, even though he hasn't done his first deal yet, but what I have accomplished in building the board, getting banks to say yes, getting the professionals, if I look back on it, I wouldn't have thought that I could have done that, but I've done that successfully. So celebrate those. When you do affirmations, I'm a big fan of big affirmations, but I'm also a big fan of smaller affirmations, so that when you accomplish those smaller affirmations, you can sit there and say, oh yeah, I've been saying that for 3 months and it actually happened. And you begin to train your mind that yes, these things work, certainly. And then if you can't figure something out yourself, use the tools around you. Use your board. Use your professionals. If you need to seek medical and mental health help, in some cases do that. But surround yourself with the tools that you can use to keep yourself in a positive mindset and taking positive action. One of the most important things is you will not be prepared for everything. You will not be ready for everything. You will be uncomfortable. You'll get used to being uncomfortable as you go forward. But make sure that you say, okay, I'm going to drive a stake through the heart of procrastination. I may not be ready to take this next step, but I'm going to take this next step anyway and move forward. And if you do those things, if you manage your mental thoughts, and you'll get better at saying, oh, there's a negative thought, I'm going to throw it away and I'm going to replace it with a better one. There's a negative thought. How many times have I worried about something and it hasn't happened? If you get better and better at that, you will get better and better at keeping positive, keeping an action plan that you work on a daily basis, and your results will typically be much better. So, back to that original question, are you in a fair fight? Use all the tools that you have to put yourself in a fair fight, and one of the biggest is eliminate negative self-talk. So I hope that helps. I hope you can action that. If this resonates with you, send me an email, bruce@brucewhipple.com, and let me know it was helpful, or examples of what you've done like this that helped you. I'd love to hear that. If you don't know the steps, again, go over to brucewhipple.com, and the Acquisition Advantage Bootcamp is the best course that I've put out to date. It also gives you an opportunity once a month to join a live group call where you can ask me questions directly on a Zoom call. So hope that helps. Take action and practice positive self-talk often, and eliminate negative self-talk, and you will, I think, like the outcome much better.